The Brisa Trapper 115 in L-Max steel. Is it worth it in 2025 when we have so many other options for bushcraft knives? Well, today we're about to find out. The Brisa Trapper that I have is the 115 version. The overall length of this guy is 8.86 inches, and we have a thickness of 0.14 inches or 3.5 millimeters. As far as its performance in the woods, it does everything that you would want a bushcraft knife to do. It can do some pretty nice feather sticks. It's pretty good at carving. The Scandi grind is really well done. Fit and finish, there's nothing wrong with the fit and finish on this knife. There's not much complaining to do about the quality of the leather sheath either. It's a nice quality leather, it's stitched well. It's got a dangler option as well as a belt loop. This knife feels very nimble. It reminds me of a Puukko knife. It's kind of like a modern version of a Puukko, and you know, the model has been around for an incredibly long time, longer than I've probably been practicing bushcraft, to be honest. So when it comes down to the blade, the Scandi grind is very well done at 3.5 mil thick. It's like, that's the thickest I would like to have a Scandi, because anything thicker and it feels a little bit obtuse. The overall aesthetics of the knife, I think it's a really beautiful looking knife. I really like the green micarta with the red liners in it. It's definitely a high quality knife, and as far as the steel goes, the L-Max like holds an edge. It feels like forever compared to the other knife steels that I'm used to dealing with. Also, there isn't too many choices for like a production knife that has L-Max steel that's like readily available, and in the price range of this, there's like not very many knives offering L-Max steel. I picked this one up off of Lamnia and I had to pay like the duty, but it ended up being cheaper than getting it off of like Bushcraft Canada or something. I think it was close to $300 Canadian for this knife. So this one just being a classic knife, I thought, I'd finally pull the trigger, finally get some L-Max steel, see how that would perform in the woods. It is definitely a noticeable difference. So I think I'm going to try to give this knife like a ranking out of 10. And I'm going to rank the blade out of 5 and the handle out of 5. So rating this knife overall, I give the blade a 5 out of 5. I don't think you can do very much better with the stock thickness. Maybe you could do like a saber grind, but the Scandi performs really well and it's super durable. The tip is super tough on this guy. I've actually done some pretty stabby things with this. Stabbing it into the log just to see what would happen, and nothing happens. The tip is very strong on this guy, and I like that a lot. I've definitely broken a tip or two off camera. I appreciate the blade. I think the blade is a 5 out of 5. I probably wouldn't change anything. I really like the balance of this knife. It feels very nimble in the hands, and like I said earlier, it feels like a Puukko to me. It has that kind of feel to it. But it does have problems. It does have some problems that I think could be improved upon. The like little guard ricasso area just before the blade was a little bit of like a sharp triangle, and it had like a sharp edge to it. I ended up just like grinding it down just a touch, so it didn't poke me. I don't know why it is so sharp, but it's a pretty sharp edge. So that was one thing that I didn't like about that. Another thing is that the handle right at the back here, I'll try to get a closer portion, but where it kind of goes into a beak, this part right up here was pretty sharp too. So I dulled that up with some sandpaper. That part here, definitely sharp too. So they could easily just kind of knock that down a bit. I mean, like a lot of the Joker knives and stuff, they've rounded this area off and they don't have any like sharp places on the handle. So there was a couple sharp places on the handle that I just didn't appreciate. Another thing is that the slabs, the micarta slabs on this knife are pretty thin for today's standards. I don't have big hands, So I can still get like a full grip on this, and it doesn't bother me too much. But compared to some of my other knives like the Joker Lynx, say, or maybe like the Yukari Puko, those handles like fill your hand. They're nice and like full. And the Yukari Puko is incredibly grippy with this kind of like rubberized handle. And when I go to this guy here, it feels like really slick and pretty thin. So people who have big hands are not going to like this knife. And I've had lots of comments from you guys out there that just really dislike the thinness to this handle. And I'll be honest, like it's not, I wish that the micarta was thicker for sure. And that's something that nowadays there's lots of knives out there that have a nicer handle design than this one here. So if I had to give like the handle a ranking out of 5, I'm putting at like 3 or even like 2.5 or something, because I do think there's rooms for improvement on this handle. So overall out of 10, this knife kind of sits between like, you know, a 7.5 to an 8. For me, it's actually like one of my favorite knives because it feels nimble, and I'm okay with like a slick feeling handle. I got some like grippy gloves that kind of grip it pretty well. I put like the little pinky lanyard on the back there, so if I do want some extra stability, it's just like put that on my pinky and it locks me in pretty good. So I simply put my finger in the pinky lanyard, gives me a good little bit of chopping action. For me, like the knife might be like a 9 out of 10, but I think for most people, the handle just kind of kills it. And sometimes that kills the joy of the whole knife. It's just the handle just isn't thick enough. So do I regret purchasing this knife? I definitely don't regret purchasing this knife. It's actually still in like my top 3, probably, maybe top 5, let's say, knives for me to bring out. I really like the Elmax steel. I really like the grind of the knife, and I like the nimble Puko feeling of it. It's kind of weird because I kind of like want to recommend the knife, and I kind of don't want to recommend the knife at the same time. I do think it's good. I do think it's still good in 2025, but it could be better. It's like, it's so close to being like the perfect knife, and because it's not, it's like irritating. And I want to like just gloat all over this, and I can't because the handle is just like, it's just not there. The handle's just bleh, bleh, small, like an Oreo. Let me know what you guys think about this knife. Do you think it's still worth it in 2025? I think the Elmax steel version is, but the other ones, I don't think so. I really wish I could recommend it more, but the handle is pretty thin, and it's it's the only reason why this knife isn't a 10 out of a 10, unfortunately.